Warner Bros. Sound Stage 5, Burbank, California. March 7, 1931. 9:42 a.m. James Cagney stands in a breakfast room set holding half a grapefruit. The set is a mock-up of a cheap apartment. Small table, 2 chairs, morning light simulated by Klieg lamps angled through fake windows. Mae Clarke sits across from him wearing a silk robe. Makeup makes her look tired, worn, like a woman who's been up all night. She's 21 years old. Cagney is 31. They've been working on Public Enemy for 3 weeks. This is scene 47. Routine, simple, a breakfast conversation that establishes character, shows the gangster's cruelty, his contempt for women, his violence. Director William Wellman walks onto the set. Tall, lean, former World War I pilot. 46 films in 10 years. Fast, efficient, doesn't waste time on unnecessary takes. He looks at Cagney, at Mae, at the breakfast table, at the script in his hand. Then he says 5 words that will echo for 55 years. Let's make it more physical. What happens in the next 18 seconds doesn't just create cinema's most infamous moment. It creates a lifetime of regret neither actor can escape. The scene as written is simple. Tom Powers, the gangster Cagney plays, sits eating breakfast with his girlfriend Kitty, played by Mae Clarke. They're arguing, she's complaining, nagging, asking questions he doesn't want to answer. He gets annoyed, tells her to shut up. She doesn't. He stands, leaves, end of scene. Standard, shows Tom's short temper, his inability to tolerate criticism, his casual dismissal of women, establishes character without anything dramatic. But Wellman wants drama, wants something memorable, wants an image that defines Tom Powers' brutality in one moment instead of building it through dialogue. Something visual, shocking, unexpected, something audiences will talk about, something that makes this gangster film different from all the others flooding theaters in 1931. Prohibition-era gangster films are everywhere. Little Caesar just came out. Audiences are getting desensitized, need something harder, more visceral, more real. Wellman tells Cagney, when she keeps nagging, shove the grapefruit in her face. Cagney blinks, shove it, push it, hard, right in her face, cut her off mid-sentence. Show he's done with her. You want me to actually hit her with fruit? It's not hitting, it's pushing. Fruit's soft, won't hurt, just humiliate her, show his contempt. Mae Clarke is listening, sitting at the table. She doesn't say anything, doesn't object, doesn't ask if they can discuss it, doesn't suggest an alternative, just sits there, waiting, because in 1931, actors don't question directors. Especially young actresses. Especially actresses who need this role, who need this film, who are 3 years into a career that could end tomorrow if they get a reputation for being difficult. So Mae stays quiet, trusts the director, trusts her co-star, trusts that what they're about to do is professional, necessary, part of the craft. Cagney looks at the grapefruit, at Mae, back at Wellman. You're sure? I'm sure. One take, fast, real, don't telegraph it, just do it. Cagney picks up the grapefruit half, feels the weight, the texture, seeds, pulp, juice. He looks at Mae, she looks back. Neither of them smiles, neither of them speaks, just eye contact. A silent question, are we really doing this? A silent answer, apparently we are. Wellman calls for quiet on set. Camera rolls, sound speed, slate, action. The scene starts. Mae delivers her lines, complaining about Tom staying out all night, about his drinking, about his lack of respect. Her voice has an edge. Whining, nagging, exactly how the script describes Kitty. Exactly what Wellman wants. Annoying enough that the audience won't sympathize when Tom reacts. Will understand, will maybe even cheer. Cagney responds, flat, dismissive, eating, not looking at her, just shoveling eggs into his mouth like she's not worth eye contact. The dynamic is clear. She's desperate for his attention. He's utterly indifferent. She keeps talking, voice rising, getting more insistent, more shrill, more nagging. Then Cagney's hand moves, fast, not telegraphed, not prepared, just suddenly there. The grapefruit half pushing into Mae Clarke's face. Smashing, juice exploding, seeds splattering, pulp spreading across her cheeks, her nose, her eyes. Her head snaps back from the impact. Not hard, not violent, but real, physical, shocking. Her mouth opens, not in the scene, in genuine surprise, because nobody told her it would feel like this. Nobody prepared her for the sensation of citrus pulp grinding into her skin. Juice burning her eyes, the humiliation of sitting there covered in fruit while cameras roll and crew members watch and her co-star's hand stays pressed against her face for 1 extra second. 2, 3. Then Cagney pulls back, wipes his hand on a napkin, stands, walks out of frame, exactly as Wellman wanted. The scene is over, 18 seconds from start to finish. Wellman calls cut, silence on set, complete, total, nobody moves, nobody speaks, 50 crew members frozen, because they just watched something that felt wrong. Not technically, not cinematically, but morally, emotionally, human being wrong. They watched a man shove food into a woman's face while cameras recorded it for entertainment. Watched her head snap back. Watched juice run down her face. Watched humiliation happen in real time. And nobody stopped it. Nobody questioned it. Nobody said maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe this crosses a line. Mae Clarke sits at the table. Grapefruit pulp sliding down her cheeks, dripping onto her robe. She doesn't move, doesn't wipe her face, just sits there, staring at nothing. Her hands rest on the table. Not clenched, not shaking, just flat, still, like she's trying to process what just happened. Trying to understand why it felt so much worse than she expected. Why it feels like more than acting. Like something was taken, something she didn't agree to give. Cagney walks back to her. Immediately, his face is wrong, not angry, not satisfied with the take. Stricken, he reaches for her. She flinches, just slightly, just enough. He stops, lowers his hand, says quietly, "Mae, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" She doesn't answer, just nods, but the nod is automatic. Mechanical, not okay, just the response expected. The professional response. "I'm fine, it's fine, we got the shot, that's what matters." She stands, walks off set, toward her dressing room, doesn't run, doesn't cry, just walks, controlled, composed, professional. The door closes behind her. Wellman is thrilled. Perfect. One take. That's what we need. That's the shot. Cagney doesn't respond, just stares at the closed dressing room door. His hands hang at his sides. Still smell like grapefruit. Sweet. Acidic. Wrong. He wipes them on his costume pants. Can't get the smell off. Can't shake the image of Mae's face. The moment of genuine shock. The flinch when he reached for her. The mechanical nod. The walk away. Professional. Controlled. But wrong. Something wrong underneath the professionalism. He walks to her dressing room. Knocks. No answer. Knocks again. "Mae, can I come in? I need a minute. I need to apologize." "You already did. Not enough. Not adequately. Can I please come in?" Long pause. Then, it's open. He opens the door. She's sitting at her makeup mirror. Robe removed. Wearing a towel. Face washed. Hair wet. She's been crying. Not sobbing. Just silent tears that she wiped away before letting him in. But he can see it. Red eyes. Blotchy skin. The aftermath. She looks at him in the mirror. Doesn't turn around. Just looks at his reflection. Waiting. Cagney doesn't know what to say. How to apologize for something that was his job. That the director ordered. That the script required. How do you apologize for doing exactly what you were hired to do? How do you acknowledge that doing your job felt like assault? That following direction felt like betrayal. He tries anyway. "That was terrible. What we just did. What I just did. I should have questioned it. Should have asked if you were comfortable. Should have protected you instead of just executing the direction. I'm sorry. Genuinely. Deeply. Sorry." Mae looks at him in the mirror. Then looks away. "It's not your fault." "It is, actually. I'm the one who did it. Wellman told you to. Doesn't matter. I chose to do it the way I did it. Hard. Fast. Real. I could have pulled it. Made it look real without actually grinding fruit into your face. I didn't. I went for authenticity. For the shot. And I hurt you in the process. It didn't hurt. It's just fruit." But her voice cracks. Just slightly. On the word fruit. And they both hear it. Both know she's lying. Not about physical pain. About the other kind. The kind that doesn't leave bruises. Just leaves you feeling smaller. Diminished. Used. Like your dignity was the price of a good take. Cagney says, "I won't ever do anything like that again. Not to you. Not to anyone. I promise." Mae doesn't respond. Just nods again. Same mechanical nod. Professional. Expected. The conversation is over. Cagney leaves. Closes the door quietly. Walks back to set. Wellman is setting up the next scene. Looking at the shot list. Planning the day. Efficient. Professional. Already moved on from the grapefruit scene. Already thinking about the next moment. The next image. The next piece of cinema. But James Cagney hasn't moved on. Will never move on. Public Enemy releases April 23, 1931. Warner Bros. Saturation campaign. Posters everywhere. Newspaper ads. Radio spots. The toughest gangster picture ever made. Reviews are strong. Audiences pack theaters. The film makes money. Lots of money. Becomes Warner Bros. Biggest hit of the year. Makes James Cagney a star. The gangster. The tough guy. The man who doesn't take disrespect from anyone. Especially women. And the scene everyone talks about is the grapefruit scene. Not the shootout. Not the death scene. Not the dramatic confrontations. The grapefruit. 18 seconds of casual cruelty that audiences find hilarious. Shocking. Memorable. They laugh. They gasp. They talk about it afterward. Did you see what he did with the grapefruit? That was incredible. That's what those nagging women deserve. The scene becomes iconic. Gets referenced in reviews. Gets parodied in other films. gets immortalized in Hollywood history as the moment that defined Cagney's screen persona. Mae Clarke's career changes immediately, but not how she hoped. She's not known for her performance. She's known as the grapefruit girl, the woman who got fruit smashed in her face. Interviewers ask about it. Every interview, every profile. What was it like when Cagney hit you with the grapefruit? Did it hurt? Were you angry? Did you know it was coming? She answers professionally, graciously. It was acting. James is a professional. It looked worse than it was. The same answers, over and over, for years, decades, until the grapefruit scene becomes her identity. Not Mae Clarke the actress. Mae Clarke who got hit with fruit. Casting directors see her as a type. The victim, the woman who gets abused on screen. She gets offered similar roles. Women who get slapped, pushed, humiliated, because audiences remember the grapefruit. Remember she can take it. Can make victimhood look real. She takes the roles, needs the work, needs the income, but each role reinforces the type. Cements the identity. The grapefruit girl, forever. By 1935, her career is fading. Fewer offers, smaller roles, B-movies, supporting parts. By 1940, she's barely working. A few television appearances, stage work, dinner theater. The trajectory every actor fears. Ascending fast, peaking young, descending slowly into obscurity. By 1950, she's forgotten. Not completely, but mostly, except for the grapefruit scene. That's remembered, that's referenced, that's shown in film classes and documentaries about early gangster cinema. Mae Clarke's face, grapefruit pulp, James Cagney's hand, 18 seconds that define a career. Bury a career, become more famous than the person they happen to. James Cagney's career goes the opposite direction. Up, higher, bigger, better roles, more money, more acclaim. Yankee Doodle Dandy, White Heat, Mr. Roberts, Oscar winner, legend, icon, one of the greatest actors in Hollywood history. But he never forgets the grapefruit scene, never stops feeling the weight of it, the wrongness of it, the damage it did, not just to Mae, to the culture, to how violence against women gets portrayed. Normalized, celebrated. He starts refusing roles that require him to hit women, to abuse them, to treat them as disposable. Directors offer him gangster parts, tough guy roles, expect him to replicate the public enemy dynamic. He refuses, says he's done with that, done playing men who hurt women. Studios are confused, frustrated. That's his brand. That's what audiences want. That's what made him famous. But Cagney won't do it. Takes other roles instead. Musicals, comedies, character parts, anything that doesn't require violence against women. Journalists notice, ask why, ask if he's gotten soft, if he's lost his edge, if he's afraid of playing tough guys anymore. Cagney doesn't explain, just says he's interested in different kinds of roles. Different kinds of men, leaves it vague, professional, doesn't mention Mae Clarke, doesn't mention the grapefruit, doesn't talk about the regret that sits in his chest every time someone references that scene. Every time film critics call it iconic, every time young actors study it as an example of powerful screen violence. Decades pass, Cagney ages, continues working, continues refusing violence against women, gets a reputation as difficult, picky, hard to work with, because he won't do what made him famous. Won't repeat the thing audiences most remember. But he doesn't care, would rather be unemployed than repeat the grapefruit scene, than create another 18 seconds that destroys another actress's career, than participate in normalizing violence as entertainment. 1974. Cagney is 75 years old, retired from acting for 13 years, living on his farm in New York. A journalist requests an interview. Career retrospective, lifetime achievement piece. Cagney agrees. Rare, he doesn't do many interviews. Doesn't like talking about his work. Prefers to let the performances speak. But this journalist seems respectful. Serious, so Cagney agrees. They sit in his farmhouse. Comfortable, relaxed, talking about career highlights, favorite roles, directors he admired, co-stars he respected. Professional conversation, pleasant, easy. Then the journalist asks, looking back on your entire career, is there anything you regret? Any role or scene you wish you could change? Cagney doesn't answer immediately, just looks out the window. At his horses, at the farm he's built, the life he's made away from Hollywood, away from cameras and scripts and directors who ask you to do things that feel wrong but are technically professional. He's quiet for 30 seconds. 40. The journalist waits, doesn't push, just waits. Finally, Cagney speaks. The grapefruit scene, from Public Enemy. Yes, that's one of the most famous scenes in cinema history. Why would you regret it? Because it hurt someone, and it made hurting women entertaining. And I participated in that. Willingly, enthusiastically. I did it for the shot, for the film, for my career, and Mae Clarke paid the price. But it was acting. It was a role. It was real fruit hitting a real woman's real face while real cameras recorded it for real audiences to laugh at. The fact that we called it acting doesn't change what it was. Do you think about it often? Cagney looks at the journalist. Every single day since. The room goes silent. The journalist's pen stops moving. Because that's not hyperbole, not exaggeration, not performance. That's truth. Raw, simple, devastating. Every single day for 43 years. Since 1931. Since March 7th. Since the moment he watched Mae Clarke walk off set with grapefruit pulp dripping down her face and a mechanical nod that said I'm fine when everything underneath said I'm not. Every single day. The weight of 18 seconds carried for 43 years. The journalist asks, have you ever told Mae Clarke this? I apologized immediately after, on set, in her dressing room. But no, I've never told her that I think about it every day. That I regret it every day. That if I could erase one moment from my career, it would be that one. Not because it hurt my career. It made my career, but because it hurt hers. And hurt every woman who watched it and felt smaller, less safe, more aware that violence against women is considered entertaining. Did you ever speak to Mae Clarke again? Once, 1960s. We ran into each other at an industry event. Talked briefly, politely. She was kind, gracious, professional, said she held no hard feelings. Said it was a long time ago. Said we were both just doing our jobs. But I could see it. In her eyes. The grapefruit girl. That's how people still saw her. That's how she saw herself. And I did that. I made her that. For 18 seconds of screen time. The journalist asks if Cagney thinks the scene should be removed from film history. Censored. Forgotten. No, it exists. It happened. Pretending it didn't doesn't help anyone. But it should be contextualized. Should be understood for what it is. Not just iconic cinema. Also the normalization of violence against women. Also the exploitation of an actress who couldn't say no. Also a director prioritizing shock value over human dignity. Also an actor choosing the shot over the person. All of those things simultaneously. That's the truth. And we should be able to hold all of that truth at once. The interview ends. The journalist publishes the piece. Few people read it. It's 1974. Cagney is retired. Public Enemy is 43 years old. Nobody cares about old Hollywood regrets. The piece gets filed away. Forgotten. Until decades later when film scholars rediscover it. When feminist critics start analyzing early Hollywood's treatment of women. When #MeToo forces a reckoning with normalized violence. When people start asking, what responsibility do artists have for the culture their art creates? And James Cagney's answer becomes relevant again. Every single day since. Mae Clarke lived until 1992. 61 years after Public Enemy. She never stopped being the grapefruit girl. Never escaped it. Even her obituaries led with it. Mae Clarke, actress known for grapefruit scene, dies at 81. Not accomplished actress. Not Hollywood veteran. The grapefruit girl. Forever. She gave hundreds of performances. Appeared in over 70 films. Had a full career. A full life. But one scene, 18 seconds, defined everything. In interviews late in life, she was asked if she regretted the scene. She always said no. Said it made her famous. Said worse things have happened to actresses. Said she held no resentment toward Cagney or Wellman. Said it was just acting. Professional, no hard feelings. But sometimes, in unguarded moments, journalists caught something else. A hesitation, a look, a small, sad smile. The performance of being fine with something that was never fine. James Cagney died in 1986. 86 years old, 55 years after Public Enemy. His obituaries celebrated his career, his Oscar, his iconic roles, his place in cinema history. Most mentioned the grapefruit scene. Called it legendary, revolutionary, the moment that defined screen gangsters. None mentioned his regret. None mentioned every single day since. Because regret isn't part of the Hollywood legend. Regret is complicated, uncomfortable, doesn't fit the icon narrative, doesn't celebrate genius, doesn't reinforce the myth that great art requires no moral cost. But regret is honest. Regret is Cagney looking out his farmhouse window in 1974 and saying he thinks about 18 seconds every day. Regret is refusing to repeat violence against women for 40 years because once was too many times. Regret is carrying the weight of Mae Clarke's mechanical nod, her professional composure, her destroyed career, her permanent identity as the grapefruit girl. Carrying it silently, privately, without public confession or redemption tour or attempt to rewrite history. Just carrying it, because some things can't be fixed, can't be undone, can only be remembered, regretted, learned from. What should James Cagney have done in 1931? Refused the direction, protected Mae Clarke, said no to Wellman, maybe, probably, but he was 31 years old, 3 years into his film career, not powerful enough to refuse directors, not secure enough to risk his career on principle, Not aware enough to understand what 18 seconds would cost, would become, would mean. What should he have done afterward? Spoken publicly about his regret. Used his fame to contextualize the scene. Advocated for better treatment of actresses. Maybe, but Hollywood in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s wasn't ready for that conversation. Wasn't interested in actor regret. Wasn't willing to examine how violence against women was portrayed, celebrated, normalized. Speaking up would have ended his career without helping Mae Clarke, without changing the culture, without preventing the next grapefruit scene. Sir Cagney did what he could. Refused violence roles, carried regret privately, answered honestly when asked, every single day since. Not heroic, not redemptive, just human, just the acknowledgement that some things you do professionally haunt you personally. That career success and moral failure can coexist. That being good at your job doesn't mean everything you did for your job was good. The grapefruit scene remains in public enemy. Will remain forever. It's cinema history. Can't be removed. Shouldn't be removed. But it should be taught differently. Understood differently, not just as iconic filmmaking, also as iconic harm, not just as revolutionary violence, also as revolutionary normalization, not just as the moment that made Cagney a star, also as the moment that destroyed Mae Clarke's career and made violence against women entertaining and taught generations of filmmakers that shock value matters more than human dignity. All of those things are true simultaneously, and holding all of that truth is uncomfortable, but comfort is not the goal. Understanding is the goal. Understanding that 18 seconds of cinema can create 55 years of regret. Can destroy a career. Can normalize violence. Can become iconic. Can be simultaneously celebrated and harmful. Can be taught in film schools as brilliant technique while also being taught in ethics classes as moral failure. Can be all of these things. Not either, or, and. That's what James Cagney understood sitting in his farmhouse in 1974. What he carried for 55 years. What he articulated in 5 words, every single day since. Not dramatic, not performative, not seeking forgiveness or redemption, just honest, just the simple acknowledgement that some things you do wrong you live with forever. Not because you're punished, because you remember, because you see the face of the person you hurt, because you know what you did in the name of art wasn't art. It was harm, and harm doesn't become art just because cameras were rolling. Mae Clarke deserved better. James Cagney knew it, and knowing it, carrying it, refusing to repeat it, speaking honestly about it when asked, that doesn't erase the harm. But it's something, not redemption, just responsibility, just the refusal to pretend 18 seconds didn't matter, because they did, to Mae Clarke, to every woman who watched, to James Cagney, every single day. For 55 years, that's the cost of iconic cinema. That's the weight of the grapefruit scene. That's what regret looks like when you carry it honestly instead of performing past it. And maybe that's the real lesson. Not that artists shouldn't take risks. Not that cinema should avoid violence. But that when your art harms someone, you don't get to decide it didn't matter because the shot was good. The person harmed decides, and they live with it. And if you're honest, if you're human, if you're James Cagney sitting on a farm 55 years later, you live with it too, every single day since.